Good afternoon, and thank you very much for coming to this session. We will be discussing creating accessible content. My name is Natalia Kuraeva. I'm an instructional designer for teaching and learning with technology at Rutgers University. Let me share with you a little bit about our Division of Continued Studies. This is Central Continued Education Unit at Rutgers University. And we have learners that we serve from 4 years old to 100 years old and more. We also support distance learning for faculty, staff, and beyond. You can always learn more about our division by going to our website, docs.rutgers.edu. And this is the website that you can take a look at and learn what we are doing. All right, couple of words about myself. As I mentioned, I'm an instructional designer serving Rutgers University faculty and staff developing face-to-face, online, and hybrid courses. My focus area includes supporting students with special needs, universal design for learning, and accessibility. I graduated with doctoral degree in education from Rutgers Graduate School of Education. I had an opportunity to work as a teacher in K-12, as a special education teacher and technology teacher. I also worked as a visiting assistant professor at University of North Alabama and as part-time lecturer and adjunct professor at Rutgers and Middlesex Community College. I hope my experience will help you today to learn something about creating accessible content for your subject area. So our objectives for this session is to review 3 principles of UDL, discuss accessibility basics, view demonstrations of producing accessible documents. I will share with you how to take steps to make your documents accessible. So part 1, let's start with Universal Design for Learning, UDL. What is UDL? UDL is a framework. It's designed for improving and optimizing teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. If you have an opportunity, please go and visit cast.org. They have a variety of very useful, well-prepared resources and video clips. So please take a look to learn more about Universal Design for Learning. Universal Design for Learning has 3 main principles. Multiple means of representation give learners various ways of acquiring information and knowledge. And this will be our topic. This will be the topic that we will be focusing on today. The other 2 principles are also very relevant. Is multiple means of expression. That means to provide learners alternatives for demonstrating what they know. And multiple means of engagement, tap into learners' interests, offer appropriate challenges, and increase motivation. So all of these main principles play a role in how we develop content that is universally relevant to our students. So let's talk about multiple means of representation and what does it mean. It means that your content will be perceptible to all learners. It will be available in more than one form, alternatives to visual information, to auditory information, illustrations throughout multiple media, and different ways to customize information. So that would be very useful for any learners. For example, if a person cannot see, they would be able to hear the same content. If they cannot hear, they can maybe read and view video with captions to get the same information. So a variety of ways, multiple means of representation is a base for a concept of accessibility. So what is accessibility? Accessibility is a practice of making your content usable by as many people as possible. Accessibility promotes inclusion and ensures the same human rights for all people. So there's laws that govern accessibility. In education, it is essential to develop accessible content that provide equal access to learning for all students. Accessibility is required by federal law and state laws, including the American with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, and Sections 504 and 508 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. So accessibility equals clarity and comprehension for all learners. Online learning material must provide the greatest possible clarity and meaning to highest possible number of viewers. So you want to make sure that your content is accessible and clear to all students and learners that will use that content. So who benefits from accessibility? Well, often people think about students with disabilities, and yes, that is one of the categories, but not only. Also, students without disabilities, for example, language and English language learners, they will greatly benefit from accessibility. Or students who are using different mobile devices, such as iPad or telephone on the go, or studying different types of environment, or experiencing slow network connection. So a variety of learners will benefit from accessibility. So it is worth our time to make all content accessible. When we discuss accessibility, we have to understand how students who are not able to access material, visually, how do they access material? They will be using screen readers. Screen reader is a software application that enables people with severe visual impairments to use computer. Screen readers work very closely with a computer operating system and provide information about icons, menu, dialog boxes, files, and folders. So just like any person would be going from one menu or one button, a screen reader will go through this information, icons and menus, and person would be able to use these features. The device provides access to the entire operating system that work with, including many common applications, such as Microsoft Word or Internet or a mail program, and anything that people need to use on the computer. So part 2, UDL and accessibility. We will be focusing on text and documents. So for this, this is our goals for this section. So we're going to use headings for consistency and meaningful structure. We will use style for accessibility, add accessible lists, create meaningful links, use accessible tables, and check for accessibility. And finally, produce accessible PDF documents. So let's start with headings. In Microsoft Word, it's called headings. And think about text in different chapters or parts or sections in a document or page. So headings would be like titles of the chapters or titles to different parts or section. Subheaders are usually smaller and visually different. And you can see example right here on the right. So privacy policy would be my header for this document. And my subheaders would be information we collect, and even further subheader would be personal information collection and non-personal information collection. So that is my subheaders here. And as you see that they're, they help us to navigate through documents. Sometimes we don't need to read every word in the document, but we can skim and get main ideas just by looking at headers and subheaders. So that is very important opportunity for us as we're reading and learning. So we want to provide the same opportunity for people who are using screen readers. So subheaders will do that. And if you just simply highlight and bold or make those titles larger, that will not be playing role of headers and subheaders. Instead, we have to do it certain way so we can incorporate tags behind the page. I will show you how to do that. When a person is using screen reader, they will navigate through content using headers as a table of the content. So they can just go quickly and decide which section they want to zoom in, focus in, and actually get more details. Please remember that as you add your headers and subheaders, they must be sequential. So that's, you cannot start with header 2 and then jump to header 4. You have to have it sequential. Header 1, header 2, header 3, and so on. Also, another detail to remember about headers and subheaders, that these titles should not contain more than 120 characters. So let's take a look how to do headers and subheaders. I will be using my sample document, and you can use any document from your own. You can do any documents from your own curriculum. So let me just open my sample document here. Of course, it had to disappear just at the right moment. Okay, so this is a document that I created just for these purposes. I'm going to make it slightly larger, and we will start adding headers and subheaders. This is my main header, and as you see right here on the menu, you have this menu with headings 1, heading 2, heading 3, and normal paragraph. So you want to make sure when you're adding heading that you highlight that and you select heading 1. You can also click on that, and it will take it, click on normal. This is now just a normal text. I know that I want to add my heading, so I'm going to highlight that and click heading 1. So now, as I did that, behind the scene, this page will include HTML tags that will communicate with screen reader and indicate that this is actually heading 1. So a person using screen reader will know how to treat it. If we're adding next heading, which is heading 2, the same idea. You're going to highlight that and add this, click on this icon and add heading 2. And you will proceed in the same manner and add your other headings. So this is how simple that is, to just add headings by using this menu, and it will make a lot of difference for the person who is using document, and it will provide meaningful structure to your document. So do that, please, every time you create document, be it in your Microsoft Word, or if you working in your LMS or any other document that you, any text editor that you're creating, please use headers and subheaders to create that meaningful structure. So let's talk about creating proper lists. You know, sometimes we just put a number and put a period after that, and we consider it to be a list item. However, again, it will not create those tags behind the page. So please do not hand numbers. Instead, add them using the menu. Let's again take a look at the document, and I will show that to you once again. So let's say this is my my list that I would like to make sure that it's properly done. So highlight all items included in your list and go to this menu right here and select to be either numbered list or bulleted list. But again, either of those lists will create tags that will be helpful to the person with the screen reader. If you just put something like that, that is not a good way to do the list. So make sure you use built-in tools that Microsoft Word provides for us for these purposes. What about tables? Sometimes people are concerned that tables may be not a good idea for accessibility, but it really depends how you use tables. Using tables can be actually a very good way to present related data sets in a clear way, and making tables to be a very accessible component of a document. We can set the data labels both visually and audibly and increase understanding of presented data. So let's take a look how we can accomplish that. One thing to remember is to keep tables simple. That means please do not nest tables inside tables and do not merge any cells. Use header rows and columns for data labels, so you can do that easily with styles. Let me again go to my document and show it to you. A couple more things before we do that. What is table captions? Is table should include a caption describing the content of the table. They also should include header scope, which specifies scope and the appropriate structure, and table header. Table should include at least one header. So let's go back to my document, and I'll show you how to create accessible tables. Okay, not this one. This one. So if I scroll down here, I already inserted table, but what you can do is you can do insert table yourself. So we can go right here to insert, and we can select table, and you can create table the way you like it yourself, or better yet, you can select any of these templates to create your table, and that would be a very good way to make sure that you will create accessible table. Because when you use any of this selected layout, all of those tags are already included, and you see it right here. Header row and first column already indicated, and it's also indicate everything that a person with screen reader needs to use. Another way that you can also make adjustments and make sure your tables are accessible is select the table and click on right button and go to table properties right here. After you click table properties, you can click on all text, and you can add your title for the table, and you can add your alt text as a description of the table, what this table is summarizing, what kind of data set you're presenting. Imagine that you're not able to see the table. Summarize the findings of it, or summarize what the data is communicating in that table, and put it in your description of alternative text right here. So in that way, you will have your header row, you will have your header column, so the person with screen reader can go through that and see your items that you're trying to display and the data set, and then just go from one cell to another and read the data set that you are communicating in that table. Okay, we are moving on. I'm going to check chat just in case there's a question, and if you need to okay. Okay, so let's go back here. I don't see questions, but feel free to put questions, and I will definitely do my best to address them at the end. Okay, let's talk about using styles. Using styles for accessibility. Fonts and colors, very important. So again, the same rule applies here. Keep it simple. Fonts and color changes often distract attention and not help us to get main idea. It also can be very overwhelming. It could cause a cognitive accessibility barrier. So this is the example of what not to do. Here's the pointlessly colored header. Here's some size and emphasis that's switching back and forth. There's some unnecessary color changes, and spacing is not proper. So please do not do that. Try to create and keep your format of the document very simple and logical and straightforward. Let's talk about using different colors. Sometimes people love to add different colors, especially students in middle school and elementary school. They just see this as an opportunity to express themselves without thinking that it could be difficult for somebody to read that. So encourage your students and yourself, please use strong contrasting colors such as black on white or white on dark, blue, and things like that. This is a good example of high contrasting colors, and this is example of poor low contrasting colors. So instead of using these colors, try to use strong contrasting colors. And if you're not sure if you chose good combination, you can always Google for text contrast ratio, and you will see a lot of tools available, and they will provide you with the answer if your combination is good. So the good contrast ratio would be best would be over 7, and fail under 4.5. And you see how difficult to read this versus it's pretty easy, straightforward to read that. So ensure adequate color contrast in your documents and use accessibility friendly colors. We also sometimes like to emphasize certain things in our documents. Well, make sure that the color are not only way that you trying to convey important information. Instead, use functions such as bold, italic, or underline to differentiate important part of the text from the rest. So if somebody is colorblinded and they might not see the difference that you pointed out by using different color, you have another way to bring people's attention. So it's okay to use two or more functions to indicate important information. Another good way to do that is also to use alert icons or boxes, and they work very well. For example, you can see this important information in this box, so we put it in a separate text box, and background is stands out in the document. We also put simply word important, bring attention using words. We also can use arrow or exclamation point or somehow to let people know that this is something they have to pay attention to, and it's not only the color that we use to indicate that. And also remember to have good contrast on the box colors as well. So inside the box, this is yellow and dark black. That is a good contrast. So keep same ratio of, proper ratio in your text boxes as well. So now this is a very important area of accessibility. Let's talk about images. Images could have three different text components to them. It's the file names. And remember, your file name is just for you to indicate how to find your images. File names should not be used as the alt text describing the image content. Your file name should be under 31 characters. And try to use lowercase and do not use spaces and underscore. Use a hyphen instead. So there's some suggestions for a proper file names. File names could be used by screen reader, or they could be not. It depends on how a user will set up their device. Image title, it sounds very important, but it actually will not be used by a screen reader at all. So you can give a title for yourself if it's important to you, but this is will not help your accessibility. But what is very, very important is alternative text, alt text. Image should include an alt text describing the image content. What do you see? And also describe the purpose of that image. Why this image here? Sometimes we add image just for decorative purposes. In that case, make sure to check decorative image box, and this way screen reader will skip it altogether. And keep in mind that your alt text should not contain more than 120 characters. So practice to provide very succinct but very meaningful description of what you see and what you're trying to communicate with that particular image. So let's see, here's an example. So file name, title, and alt text. I just want to make sure we are clear on the difference. So file name, in this case, I just named it line.png. It's maybe read by screen reader if user sets it up, and that's why I like to keep it short. Title text, West African Lion by Jonas Van, that will not be read by screen reader. So it's just for me and for people who can see, they might look in the properties. What is important is alt text. In this case, description is male lion with pros mane standing on a dry, rocky ground. So this is kind of exactly what we see on the image, and we're trying to convey the same kind of meaning through our alt text. This is also another example what functions can we use in Microsoft to add alt text. So in this case, we're going to tag image. So we have this image portrait of Ian Tamilson. So we're going to click right hand side button on the mouse and select Format Pictures. And when we select Format Pictures, we're going to go and select this icon, Layout and Properties, and we will have opportunity to add title, which again, not as important. but main thing we can provide our description or all text is right here. And now let's go to actual Word document and do that together. So let's open again here. So I have my image here. So if I click on my image, I already inserted that by using insert from file or internet, either way. Now I click my right button and I scroll down to format picture. I click on that. On the right side, I have this menu and I go to the next tab right here, which is layout and properties. It has like a few arrows going for different directions. So I click on that and I will select alt text option. My title could go here or not, doesn't matter. And this is important part, a group of people sitting at a table with open notebooks. There is a chart behind them. So I try to describe in very short way, short summary of what I can see in that window. If something is specifically important why you included this image, you can add another sentence or two, but as long as it's within a limit. So I hope that is useful as when you're adding images. So let's move on to the next part, and that would be creating meaningful links. When we put material online using technology, creating links very important because we need to help our learners to navigate through the document. So for that, we need to make sure that all links that we create are descriptive, clear, and self-linking. For example, if you just put something like click here, and the person who is not able to see the page and they're using screen reader, and they go through the document, they're gonna hear a lot of click here, click here, click here, and they don't know where that link will take them. It's very inconvenient and annoying. If you just put the whole URL, they will hear something like http : / also not very user-friendly. So instead, we will create description where this link will take us, and then add URL behind the scene. I will show you how to do that. The label or text of the link should accurately describe the purpose of the link and destination of web page or content. Again, so person with screen reader, they can scroll through the page by navigating these links and decide, this is the link I want to go take a look at. So they know exactly which link to click to go to the appropriate page. So descriptive link text help users feel confident about where links will take them. So here's an example, what to do and what not to do. So do not click here, do not use click here, and do not copy and paste URL address like here. Not a good idea. Instead, you can do provide descriptive text, like in this example, directions on how to create a hyperlink. So we know exactly when person will hear this, they know exactly where this link going to take them. And as you see, the link URL is added, and it's gonna go to this particular link. One thing to remember that sometimes we use online document also as a paper documents. For example, if you're presenting online and you're sharing some document or article, and then you would like to also give it as a handout, you have to make some adjustment to that document. And in addition to descriptive links, you also have to add the whole URL, because if person has only handout and they cannot click, they need to be able to get to the page you're referring to. And if you give them a whole URL in addition to your description, then that would be okay. So let's take a look how to do that together. So, every time I open the wrong document, right? So let's go to this one. So for example, I would like to add a link here. So my sentence says, documentation are good notes, make later rounds of research on the topic easier and give you a solid knowledge base to refer back to when making decision. I want to send my students to take a look at this article about making good decisions. So if I highlight the words making decisions and I click on the right button again, and it will ask me for edit hyperlink or add hyperlink. I can click on edit hyperlink in this case, and I put my URL right here. It will give me this text box to add that. So I'm going to say OK, and now this has a link. So we can click on this link, and it take us directly to the website, helping students to learn how to make a decision-making process. So this is creating meaningful, self-linking, descriptive links within your document is very important, because again, it will greatly help people using a screen reader to navigate through a document and make it much more effective for them. Okay, this is one of my favorite features that Microsoft Word has included, and actually any text editor has and any LMS has, is accessibility checkers. It's very, very important that we use them, because they're really there for to support our efforts in creating accessible content. So you can check for accessibility. In this case, it's under review. However, different versions of Microsoft Word or different operating system, like for Mac or Windows, could have different ways or different places where accessibility checker is. If you cannot find it, or if you don't know exactly where it is, just go to the document and go to help and search for that. And you should be always able to see accessibility checker. So let's go back to this document, not this one, of course, but to the other one right here. And we will use accessibility checker here. So let's take a look. In this case, it was under review, and it says right here, check accessibility. So we can click on that icon, and we can, on the right, it will provide us with some information. For example, in this case, I have warnings. If you have accessibility errors, it will also give you errors, and it will also tell you how to fix things. That's why we kind of should use accessibility checkers. So let's take a look. What does it suggest? It tells me that I have somewhere repeated blank characters. And that means that when screen reader is used, the person will hear blank, blank, blank. That's not very good, right? So I want to find where it is. And it tells me, if I scroll down, it will tell us why to fix it. Screen readers can read blank character as blank. This can be very irritating, especially if there are multiple blank characters. Exactly. We don't want that. And it's also will tell me how to use formatting, alignment, column size, and how to actually fix that. It's going to tell me that remove any blank characters and how to check that. So in this case, I will just go ahead and remove these blank characters. And as you see, if I go back to accessibility checkers, it will not complain anymore. It doesn't. I took away those 5 characters, and I still have to work on the other 4 somewhere. So here's my other 4 that I can also take away and fix my document. So right now, after I do that, let's check again, and we will see that my document should be all right now. Is it still? Okay, let's start again. Just gonna check away, click away, and click back. Sometimes it's likes to be refreshed. So right here, and it tells me I still have 4 blank characters. Let's see where maybe it didn't save. Okay, I can save the document and try again to make sure that I have nothing left to fix. No, it's still complaining. So we have to find these 4 characters that are still blank somewhere. But you understand how to use the how to use check accessibility feature of the Microsoft Word, and it's also very similar in any LMS that you might be using to create your content. So let's go to the next one. Creating accessible PDF documents. Very often, as part of the course or class, we include PDF document. And there's little tricks to making them accessible. First of all, if you're working from your original Microsoft Word document, it has to be accessible to begin with. So that's the best way. And instead of using print, use save as or export instead of using print. So in that way, all of those tags behind the page will be saved properly and will be also available for user as they go through the PDF document. Often we get our PDF by making copies. Well, photocopies are not accessible because photocopies is just create an image and it cannot save those tags. So photocopies of image scans of text cannot be accessible. So photocopy scans need to have OCR, which is optical character recognition. For that, we have to use other tools. For that, we can use Census Access. Here at Rutgers, we have special access to that, but you can also just Google Census Access and get to that and use it. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Often school libraries have scanners that have optical character recognition. So scanning in that certain special way, not just making a photocopy or image, but scanning will preserve those tags. A very free and easy way to deal with that, if you don't have these options, is to use Google Docs, because Google Docs can scan to text. So if you upload your document to Google Docs and then you can save it as a Microsoft Word document, there you go. You have a Microsoft Word document. You can check for accessibility. You can fix anything that's necessary, and then you can, then you can create it as a PDF using Save As. Also, you may want to just search for free OCR software that's available for Windows and also separately available for Mac system. So here's what we need to remember. Save document as an accessible PDF, and we're going to take a look at Census Access. So Census Access is an online software. So in this case, I'm coming here from Rutgers website. So it's available to anybody who works at Rutgers, but you can try to use it on your own. I believe there's a free trial or something like that. So in this case, you can upload any file and you can select different format that you would like to have. For example, if I want to upload file that is in Word, I could upload Word document and I can select output format. And for example, I want this document to be read in MP3 audio, or I just simply wanted some other, just to make sure that it's accessible, do accessibility conversion. They will go through the process and they will send you email. You will put your email and they will send you your different file by email. So that is very, very useful. However, if you cannot use that, like I said, use Google Docs and use Microsoft Word to create accessible document and save as function or export function to put it into accessible PDF. Okay. And I know we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to mention a couple of things about UDL and accessibility, audio and video. Of course, audio should have transcripts. It's very easy to add transcript if you're working from the transcript. For example, from the script, if you creating podcasts or you're just reading a document for your students and you want them to hear that, you should have that document attached or included with your material so they can also listen to it and read at the same time. Also, we need to we can use speech-to-text function on a computer that can assist us in creating transcript for any voice recording. If you're speaking, you don't have a script, but you can use speech-to-text. You can create script as you're speaking and then just edit that document and attach as a transcript. So also, if you're sharing a slide deck, like PowerPoint slides, you can add transcript to notes area. So what are you speaking? For each slide, notes should be added in the note area if that's file you're sharing with your participants. So videos are very, very popular component of the courses online or classes online or content of pretty much for any subject. And that's great because video does provide so much information. It's using multiple channel of input, which means high engagement. It's using audio, you can see interpersonal clues, it's using video, so a lot of senses engage. And the more senses we use, the better it is to comprehend the content. However, video comes with its own challenges. We have to make sure that videos are accessible, which does require additional work, time, and effort. We need to make sure that we add captions. We also need to add transcript, and also carefully use of color text and flashes or animation, because sometimes flashes or animations or all kind of movement could create a cognitive overload. So make sure that videos you're including do not cause people, especially people with disabilities, the difficulties and challenges. A video should also be delivered in accessible format with accessible media player, and may include additional audio description when the default audio track isn't sufficient. So describe what this video is about, why you're including it, so people know what to expect and they can listen to that information prior to viewing the video. This is just example that different transcription services can be used. At Rutgers, we are very lucky to have Kaltura, which has Cielo 24 tool integrated with Kaltura, and that will automatically generate machine caption on all content uploaded. So if a faculty member creating a mini lecture, they can use that to create automatic captions. However, it's not always accurate. Mostly it's from 70 to 90%. And if somebody has accent like myself, it's probably even lower. So instructors must check and edit document to bring the accuracy to 100%. Another possibility is for people who are not part of Rutgers organization, you can try translate videos and caption provided by support at Google, and we can visit that. And also you can use YouTube, use speech recognition technology to automatically create captions for your videos. Use automatic caption and YouTube Studio. So let's say I'll show this page so you just have an idea. So you can just search for that, translate video caption. There's plenty of information. You can try using automatic captioning. You can collaborate with other people and see if you can use somebody else help putting captions to the videos or movies, things like that. And there's a do-it-yourself transcription and information for that. So yes, it does take time and effort, and you have to plan for that, but there are ways to do it. So some concluding thoughts on accessibility. So designed with accessibility in mind from the beginning, it's much easier to include these simple steps as you working on your Word document, or you're working on your podcast, or you're working on any kind of element for your content. They then try to go back and try to find what is not accessible. And sometimes teachers or instructors say, well, I don't have anybody with visual disability or audio disability in my class, or some other disability. First of all, that's not a good way of looking at that. People are unique, people are diverse, and honestly, we don't know who we have in class today or tomorrow. And most of the disabilities are not visible. We might see or know or notice certain disabilities, but most of them are not. And as I mentioned, that accessibility serves not only people with disabilities, but also people with language, learning language, and using devices in different environments. So design your course, design your material, and take those steps to make them accessible right away. Another thought is design for understanding. So try to keep your content clear and concise, and that will help all learners to focus on the most important concepts and concise their learning. So design with a way that is easy to read. It's good documents, easy to read, easy to digest. They have a structure. They have a easy to read formatting. So keep that in mind. That clear and concise is the goal here. Design for multiple senses. If you preparing information for your students, make sure you have alternative ways to get that information. Again, we're talking about our first principle of universal design for learning. Make sure that if they text you provide that they can hear that, or they can read that, or they can maybe have another visual, information such as video with the same or similar content. So designed for multiple senses and vary it a lot. So make sure that people can use all of their senses to get the information and learn. And designed for assistive technology. Do please understand and read up how screen readers work, what they recognize, what they don't recognize, and design your materials with that in mind, because that will be very, very helpful to many people who will use assistive technology for your materials. And again, plan for your class or course management. Keep it simple, consistent, provide overviews, provide the goals, make it clear, include parts, not just send people to a folder with a lot of files, but instead use modules, allow people to make mistake and have a way for them to recover. That means have an easy navigation, and help them to focus attention on most important parts. And this is basically principles of cognitive web accessibility. If you are interested in that topic, which I hope you are, please search and review more information on that. And again, please use accessibility checkers. Almost every software includes them, and it is very, very good way for us to make sure that documents and materials we provide to students are accessible. Well, we're about at the end, and with that, I'm welcoming your comments or questions. If you would like to talk about anything, I will go to chat room, and just in case, right here I'm going to leave the contact information for me. If you would like to connect, I would welcome any discussion, and will do my best to respond to your inquiries. And also, I'm including contact for NJSBA for Marsha. So I'm gonna go to chat and to see if we have any discussion. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Let me just take a quick look. Give me a minute, please. Tools for translating docs, audio, video, and into other languages. Yes, that's the hard one. Even yes, thank you. Good question. Even Census Access does not do a very good job of it. Obviously, I speak Russian, and I tried to translate documents, and it came out not something I could really use. I mean, personally, I use Google Translate, and then I just edit a lot. I don't have easy solution for you for that one. I'm sorry. Okay, you mentioned Canva in the description, but I didn't hear you discuss that. You mean probably you meant Canvas, right? Canvas is a learning management system that we use here at Rutgers, and I did not discuss it with purpose because I understand that this audience might have people from different schools or organizations, and you might have all kind of different learning management system. That's why I didn't specifically focus on that. But I'm happy to show you example of the course if in Canvas, if that is relevant to you. Let's see. Right here, this is example of the course in Canvas, and let me just find you another one just to show you how it would look and what I mean by keeping it well organized. Like, for example, I'll try this one, Universal Design and Accessibility. This is the short course that we teach here at Docs, and here's modules. So you want to guide your students through modules. You see, I made all of this assignment, discussion, people pages. Everything is not visible to students, because what I want to do, I want students to start with course essential, go through the orientation, get familiar with instructors, go through all of these helpful resources to know what's available. Then as we start working on content, we want to make sure that they have overview of each module. They have learning objectives, they have activities table, they know what to expect from each module. Let me just close this one. Then also we will provide them with lectures, we will provide them with reading and materials. so they can go through each of these items in the module and learn from it. We provide transcript and notes. So if we include lecture like this.
Hello, and welcome to our first week.
So hello and welcome to our first week, and there's a material, and we have exact transcript and notes included right here underneath, so people can view it and they can listen to it at the same time. So then next one, we offer them in a separate section. Remember, I mentioned chunking and organizing information. That helps accessibility. So we include reading in a separate section, again, with information, why this document is included, why is it important to take a look at that, if, kind of talking to the learner as you would be in a classroom. And if we include any videos, we can explain where this video from and why we're including that, what to pay attention to, and things like that. Going back to module, then we go to additional documents we want to offer to the learners, and include quiz or discussion, and finally assignment. And that's happening in pretty much and very consistently with every module, with every portion of your course or class or any curriculum. And that helps, that structure and consistency helps people to navigate your course. I do think we're almost out of time, so let me check just in case of any other questions. Okay, people just said thanks, and you're very welcome. I know I rushed through that, but I hope you did have some useful information, and I hope you will use it as you continue creating your content, make it accessible. And thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate your attention and time, and please stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.